So coming away from obviously talking about the cycle, a bit of training, things to think about and stuff like that, how can that, which we already briefly touched on, influence or have an impact on things like ligaments or injury in itself?
So we've obviously mentioned that when you're ovulating, when estrogen is high, potentially there is evidence of increased ligament laxity. So predisposition to things like ligament injuries, particularly in women or people who have periods, ACL injuries. Now, there is a fair bit of evidence to suggest that this is the case, but all of that evidence concludes that they need to do more evidence. So none of what we're working with is good quality evidence. But especially, with the Women's World Cup, as women's football is getting more and more popular, which is great, we are seeing more ACL injuries in that population. And that's something that we need to consider. It's not just to say, your hormone fluctuations are the sole cause of that, but they are things that we need to consider in addition to all the other factors that can, increase your risk of ACL injury.
And let's go through some of those factors. So we've got obviously taking into consideration the hormonal potential aspect of laxity that can cause maybe an ACL injury or other injuries, of course. But let's kind of like segue into football specifically. Women's World Cup, Lionesses, let's go. There are many more factors involved as well. For example, let's talk about biomechanical factors.
Of course. So, I remember at uni learning about the Q angle.
Q-angles.
Women have a bigger Q angle of their pelvis, which can then increase your knee valgus. Whether or not that's still, I think we do know that pelvis shapes are different in women, and it is going to increase the way or change the way that you land. Potentially the stability of your knee in landing, and especially pivoting, twisting sports, will have a contributing factor. We've also got to think about strength and control. So
100%,
we often look at the quads hamstring ratio. Now, if you've got particularly a change ratio, so your quads are particularly strong in your hamstrings or vice versa, that can be a predisposing factor to injury as well. And obviously muscle power in general, if you've got reduced power in your lower limb, that's a contributing factor. Thinking about hypermobility as well. So we look at doing like a Baton score, for example. But if someone is more hypermobile, which is more prevalent in women, that in itself is again a risk factor.
At that stage as well, maybe in that kind of
potential, but there's no evidence to suggest that as of yet.
Scrap that.
But just in general, joint hypermobility syndrome is more prevalent in women, and that is a risk factor for ligament injuries.
But it's interesting. When looking at some of the evidence, I looked at the British Orthopaedic kind of Association, and then using some annual reports on ligament kind of repairs and stuff, ACLs, just generally in the men's and women's kind of populations. Like football is the biggest one, like nearly half of them it's called like ACL injuries come from football, and obviously with women's football on the rise. At the moment they're not the highest, like skiing and netball at the moment are, but we can imagine that is going to increase, unfortunately. But also in a way, it's encouraging to see that we are getting more women into football. And fun fact,
water can stop your flow.
What?
Water can stop your flow.
Drinking?
No, water can stop your, no. Like, if you're submerged in water, drink more water, guys.
Please hydrate.
If you're in a swimming pool or in a bath, the water pressure on the outside is greater than the force of gravity.
Physics.
So, physics. So you will stop bleeding during that time. So this is really important because lots of women don't feel comfortable to swim when they're on their period. But essentially...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because obviously you're like worried about getting out of the pool, you're bleeding everywhere, bleeding for a tampon, but you're not gonna bleed generally when the water pressure is higher. It's good, isn't it?
Fact.
So you can...
That's a good one.
Swim,
Cool.
Yeah.
You can swim.
You can swim. Swim away. And actually, final fun fact, when we're talking about swimmers.
Right, okay.
So, obviously, we know that women generally are not going to be as strong as men, right?
Okay.
Bone density, muscle-wise, hormonally, we are not built to, have as big a muscles or be as strong as men. However...
I was going to say, I beg to differ, because you can definitely lift more than men.
I think that says more about you.
Yes, well...
So, ultra endurance swimmers. Because women have higher levels of body fat than men,
Right.
in swimming, when we're talking really, really far distances, women can manage their energy levels better, so generally can outperform men at longer distances because they can use their body fat more effectively.
Fun fact.
Yeah, which is really cool.
And stuff like that. But so then that kind of brings us on a little bit to, you know, if we've talked a little bit biomechanics, really important to like focus on things like landing, but also deceleration, cutting, taking into a little bit account the limited evidence we do have in the hormonal aspects. We've got other things like environmental stuff and disparities between the male and female populations in sport. Should we talk a little bit about them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you think about, for number one, like Women's Super League, you've still got women who are having to work full-time or part-time jobs to fund them being able to play football. Whereas you look at the average Premier League football player, he is definitely not having to do that.
Yeah.
And so that's massively different in terms of you go to work, then you go to train, then you've got matches on the weekend.
Yeah.
Other things to consider are medical teams. So some of the top women's football teams have a doctor that drops in on them once a week, and they might have one full-time physio, and that's the top, compared to your average men's team who has a full-time doctor, and then they might have 3 physios, soft tissue therapists.
Or even academies, even down to the ages of 14 and below. They do have physios around the world on tap, strength and conditioning coaches, nutritionists, and I know women's football is definitely making progress in those areas, and it is still progressing. So we just want to say that's not,
They're doing a great job.
They're doing a great job,
but it's still different.
It still needs that kind of input. And I think if we're trying to encourage and promote women in football especially, we need to have that right environment from day one, from grassroots level, to try and focus on things like movement patterns, which you get when you're in those early stages of growing up and playing football. You learn them then. And also footwear, boots. There's some evidence at the moment, isn't it? It's all been kind of geared around male football.
Yeah.
I haven't actually looked into that evidence much, but I know it's been talked about recently in terms of, female having their own style of kind of footwear and stuff like that to meet their needs, which is super important. But like you said as well, pitches. Not having maybe, experienced, let's just say, coaches. And just not having the access to things that maybe the male sport does have. Fun fact.
Fun fact. So estrogen can make you smell good, supposedly. Or when you're ovulating and your estrogen's high, it makes you smell good to males whose testosterone then increases, which is kind of gross if you think about it, but interesting. I think the actual smell doesn't change, but
there's something in the air.
Chemically.
Chemical.
Yeah, mad.